The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for today's webinar, Scout Smarter, Not Harder, Improving Field and Communication Efficiency Through FarmDog. My name is Julia Froik. I'm the project coordinator here at the Partnership for Ag Resource Management and will be hosting the webinar this morning. We are joined today by my colleague, Caitlin Leahy, project manager for PARM, who will provide a brief introduction. I'm also pleased to welcome our guest speaker, Liron Brish, founder and CEO of FarmDog. Before we begin, I will go over some brief logistics. Please remember to submit questions for Liron on the GoToWebinar panel during his presentation. I will moderate the questions for approximately 10 minutes after the presentation. You will receive an email in the next few days with the webinar recording and link to the webinar evaluation. The recording will also be available on partnershipfarm.org and YouTube. By attending today's webinar, you are eligible for 1.5 CCA continuing education units, 1 for integrated pest management and 0.5 for crop management. You must be present for the entire webinar to receive those points. If you submitted your CCA number at registration and are watching the webinar live, no further action is required to submit your CEUs. If you are watching this on demand at a later date, please be sure to watch the entire presentation through the GoToWebinar platform and not YouTube to receive credit. If you watch the webinar recording more than 2 weeks after the original broadcast, please email your CCA number to julia@partnershipfarm.org to ensure your credits are submitted. Please make a big note that credits often take a few weeks to appear in your account. If it has been more than 4 weeks, please contact my email. And now, with the logistics taken care of, I will turn it over to Caitlin.
Thanks, Julia. The Partnership for Ag Resource Management, or PARM as we call ourselves, is an effort of the IPM Institute of North America, a nonprofit organization focused on using the power of the marketplace to improve sustainability in agriculture and communities. We all know 2019 was a brutal year for farms in the Midwest, with the increased rainfall that left approximately 19 million acres unplanted. We are now hit with another tough situation, full of uncertainties and already plummeting corn prices. There are resources popping up for farmers and others in the agricultural community. The Michael Fields Agricultural Institute, Farm Aid, and the USDA, to name a few, have put together resource pages listed on the screen to help farmers and others navigate COVID-19. Links in each include options for relief funding, legal advice, and preparation and strategies for coping with COVID. I would encourage each of you to also visit your closest extension webpage for additional resources. And if you haven't heard yet, our close partner, American Farmland Trust, is offering $1,000 in cash grants to small and mid-sized direct market growers. As we think about the health of one another during this intense time, it is important to consider what it would be like to also have limited access to clean drinking water during this crisis. Think Toledo, Flint. Although we buckled down and weathered 2019's volatile rainfall, we know that this is going to continue. Increased rainfall leads to more runoff, plain and simple. So it's important now more than ever to talk about changes that can be made on farms to increase resiliency, reduce runoff, and maintain profitability. For those of you who don't know, PARM addresses water quality issues by working with ag retailers to increase sales and profitable products and services that keep inputs on cropland. Through sales of practices like cover crops and variable rate technology, we can estimate nutrient loss reductions using a calculation system we developed with the National Center for Water Quality Research. These estimates are variable due to factors like slope and soil type, but give our participants the best idea of where they can make a difference. We track these sales through annual surveys and provide both public reports and confidential nutrient stewardship reports for participants. We just released our 2019 season report this month, which you can find on the PARM website. The report contains practice adoption information, retail profitability, and customer and dealer barriers to implementation. Each of you will receive the report link in our follow-up email with the webinar recording. This year, we had 126 ag retail locations participate, representing over 8.7 million acres across the Midwest and East Coast. Our survey results show average increases in several products and services, including weather consideration before fertilizer application and cover crops. From their combined efforts, retailers and their customers retained an estimated 7.1 million pounds of total phosphorus and 71.9 million pounds of total nitrogen. Based on a calculation process verified by New Mexico State University, this equates to 7.6 million in phosphorus savings if you're using monoammonium phosphate and 33 million if using UAN 28. You can find more of these estimates per practice in the report. At PARM, we offer catered educational tools to retail locations that help staff convey the benefits of nutrient management practices to customers. We also offer watershed and statewide incentive programs based on available grant funding. You can receive these benefits and many others by becoming a valued PARM member. Visit our website or contact me at caitlin@partnershipfarm.org. With that, I'll turn it back to Julia.
Thank you, Caitlin. As Caitlin mentioned, we provide free resources for ag retailers, grower clients, and consultants. On the left is our continually updated and for our approved agronomist handbook, available free for download. We also develop these locally and regionally for individual locations with our membership program. Our phosphorus loss reduction wall cards in the lower left corner can also be ordered for free on our website. The date of our next webinar is targeted for late June, early July. Look for announcements in your email, on Facebook, and Twitter. And remember, we take into consideration your suggestions for webinar topics, so be sure to fill out our evaluation form after the webinar. And now we'll get the presentation started with Liron Brish, founder and CEO of FarmDog.
Thank you, Julia. Thank you, Caitlin, and thank you very much to PARM for having us on. I am Liron Brish. I am the founder and CEO of FarmDog. And what I'd love to do is walk everybody through a little bit overview of what FarmDog is. Then I'll go through a demo as well, and then I'll be open to questions. So if you'll give me 1 second, share my screen here. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of FarmDog. FarmDog's main goal is to help you, the retailer, agronomist, extension agent, whatever your role may be, to scout smarter and not harder. Really what we're doing here is started off with what we call a digital IPM tool to help you reduce your pesticide use, protect yields, and promote your environmental sustainability. In the last few months, we've been named a top 20 app you should know in 2020 and beyond by CropLife, a top 9 ag app you shouldn't farm without by Successful Farming, and you can see a few additional recognitions that we've received. As I start the demo, I'd like to let everybody know that you are able to sign up for FarmDog right now on both the Apple and Android store. You can follow along with me, and you can start your free trial on there. So the 3 main things that we want our users to get out of using FarmDog are operational improvements, marketing opportunities, and decision-making insights to help drive your agronomic decision-making. From an operational improvement aspect, we've got 2 main goals. 1 is to save you time when you're out in the field, and 2 is to improve your communication and make your communication much easier when you're out there between your team, amongst your team, to your clients, and any other stakeholders that you may be working with. From a marketing opportunity aspect, I'll show this as well. Really, we want for the folks who do have clients, however you define those, to have improved client services, to be able to brand your work, as well as to be able to share best practices of what it is that you're doing. And then lastly, the decision-making insights. This is part of our long-term vision here is once you are able to improve on operations in the field, to really give you the additional data layers, data insights, data visualizations to help you make your final agronomic recommendation or decision once you're out there. As I go through the demo, please have these things in mind so that then when Q&A opens up, feel free to ask questions along any of these fronts and say, hey, FarmDog, this could help much more in terms of operational improvements. This doesn't help me. the way I usually run these is a very wide open sort of Q&A and feedback, and we very much look forward to those. Before I get started, I know there's a lot of different folks here on the webinar, whether it's private agronomists, folks from universities, folks from retailers, folks from manufacturers. One key thing that I want to drive home is FarmDog has been built to be incredibly flexible and open to really anybody along the agricultural value chain. That means a few things. We're being used today on several million acres across the US and Canada, across a wide variety of crops, from lettuce and tomatoes down in Florida up to wheat and canola in Western Canada. We work with retailers, we work with private agronomists that are basically one lone individual agronomist working by himself, to teams of more than 40, 50 agronomists at a large private agronomic firm. We work with extension, we work with USDA, we work with retailers. Basically, we work all across the value chain. So I do want to say that up front, because I know that there is a very wide group here on this webinar. High level, right before I go into FarmDog, FarmDog is a mobile and web-based platform. By mobile, I mean both Android and iOS. Again, you can download and sign up for your free trial right now on both of those, as well as on our website at farmdog, farmdog.ag. Mobile means phone and tablet. About 98% of what I'm going to show y'all is going to work both offline and online. And of course, there is a web component to everything that we've got on here. And so with that, I'm going to jump into the demo. Let me just switch my screen over to show my phone screen for y'all. Sorry, that is giving me an issue as I try to do that. Give me 1 second, everybody. Okay. You should be seeing my screen right now. This is my iPhone right here. And this is inside the FarmDog application. So the first thing you're going to see when you go out into the field is you're going to be able to see the information that you need before you get your scouting started or your interaction with your grower. That means a few things. First of all, if I go up to the field, we've got here, you see this little house, what we call informational markers. So before you roll up, you can tap on that and you're just going to see information, whether it's about your grower, whether it's about the lock for the gate to get into the warehouse, whatever it may be. There's all sorts of these that you can add, and I'll show that in a bit. But first of all, whoever you send out to the field, they're going to be ready to meet with grower John Smith. When they're ready to go to the field, you tap on the field, and that opens up all the information for the field that you have scouted or observed in the past. By all of it, I mean, if I tap on this gray bar here, I'm going to be able to see my observations that I collected back on March 26th. So as you can see, common rust, 25% of plants infested, cutworms moderate, et cetera. And I'm just going to go back in time, and I'm going to be able to see all the different information collected. In addition to that, you see GPS hotspots on the map, as well as we can also track the path of the user in the field. Now, the key aspect here is if you're working in a large team, or frankly, if you're working in a two-person team, you're going to be able to see everybody's information on here at the same time. So if Julia and myself are on the same team and Julia went and scouted last week, her scouting information is going to be on here. Her and I do not need to speak again beforehand. It's going to be available to me. When I'm ready to scout my visit, I tap log visit, and what that's going to do is that's going to open up my observation form. This observation form is fully customizable, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go first through the very simple version of it and then show you all how to do that. The observation form has a few main sections: growth stage, stand count, observation section, and then what I call the administrative section, where you add a note, send a report, save your visit, whatever it may be. So from a growth stage aspect, I'm just tapping my screen. I can select any, all, some of these growth stages, whatever it may be. For a stand count, for the relevant crops, of course, we do have a stand count calculator for you. You can choose which method you want to use, row method or hula hoop. and we're going to automatically calculate that stand count for you. If you've got multiple stand counts, you can add multiple stand counts on there, and we'll take the average. I'm going to go down now to my observation section. Let's say I'm looking for cutworms, and this specific observation is low, moderate, high. Again, this is fully customizable, so if you're counting worms, if you're looking at percentages, we support all that. In this example, again, low, moderate, high, I just tap my screen on where I want that to go on my severity level. I can add a note. So cutworms looking crazy. And as I tell everybody during this, I hope for the folks on this webinar that you have smarter things to say than I do when you find any cutworms out there. I'm going to tap save. I can take a picture, of course. So these are some eucalyptus leaves from the backyard. I can drop a GPS marker of where I found a hotspot. If I'm out in the field, I can just tap that GPS icon at the bottom right, and it's going to drop that marker where I am. Since I'm obviously not in the field, I just tap on my screen and add that marker wherever I find that. So it's as simple as that. You don't have to write out anything. You don't have to write out paragraphs. It's all stored digitally and easily shared. If I go to European corn borers here, for example, the other aspect that we allow you to do is to collect what we call negative data. Sometimes it's just as important to let folks know that you searched for something, you scouted for something, but you didn't find it. So I'm just going to tap that little check mark. I looked for corn borers, I didn't find any. Common rust. Here, this is an example of a observation that we have set as % of plants infested. So instead of low, moderate, high, I just tap in this box, type in my number. 25% of plants are infested. I can, of course, still add a note, take a picture, drop a GPS marker, etc. When I'm done scouting this field, I can add a note for the whole field. So I can say field looks good. I can add a recommendation, and I'll speak to this in a bit as well on some of the things that we're doing. And then when I'm done, I can save the visit. If I just tap save, what it's going to do, it's going to save my visit in my phone. If I'm online, it's going to sync this up to everybody's account. If I'm offline, it's going to save this in my phone, and the second I'm back online, whether via cell connectivity or Wi-Fi, it's going to sync everything up. In addition, instead of just saving the visit, I can send out a report. By tapping that, that opens up my report module. In here, I can add an email address. So we remember people's email addresses. Again, our goal here is to save you time. We do not want you to have to type out people's emails over and over again. So here we've got parmdemo@gmail already saved inside. I can add another summary here if I want. And then down here at the bottom, before I send this out, we give you an overview of what your report is going to have. So before I send it out to my grower, to any other stakeholder, I can make sure that I entered the information correctly. So for example, European corn borers, it says here, okay. Let's assume that I made a mistake and I want to change that. I can easily change that within that same dialog box. When I'm ready to send out the report, I tap the airplane icon on the top right, and that report is going to get sent out. That report will arrive at your client, at the other stakeholder within the next 5 to 20 seconds. Again, if you are offline, what we're going to do is we're going to remember that we're going to remember that you sent out the report in the FarmDog app. The second you're back online, you're going to get that report. Now, how does that report look? This is in my email right here. You can see that report already arrived. It's going to come as a PDF. It's going to give you the report summary here. Please find attached a scout report. When I open that up, let's see if y'all can see that. There it goes. This is a PDF report that you receive. You'll see at the top, there's an ability to brand. So add your company's logo, add your information. You can see my name on there, email, phone number, etc. The pictures that we took, the GPS markers that we dropped, all the notes that we have. So it's a very simple process in terms of collecting observations out in the field, all the way to communicating to your stakeholder. So I'm back in the FarmDog application. So here, oftentimes folks ask, That's great that you can send out one report per field, but hey, you know what? I go and I scout my grower's field, and he or she's got 30 fields that I scout in a day. I don't want to go through that process 30 different times. My grower does not want to receive 30 different emails, 30 different emails, 30 different PDFs. So we do allow you to send out one email with one report with all of your fields within it. So what I'm going to do, I'm in what's called the scheduler view in FarmDog. I'm tapping and holding one of the field names. That's a field that we just scouted, and that opens up these radio buttons to the left. Once that opens up, I can multi-select different fields. I can tap the airplane icon at the top right again. This is the report module that we're familiar with. Multi-field report. And here at the bottom, you can see that I still have the overview of the two fields that I sent. Now I've just got two fields. One is called corn demo. One is called Lukenbach 1. I tap the airplane icon at the top right. And that is now sent one report, one PDF with two fields on it. And you can, of course, add 10 fields, 15 fields, 20 fields, whatever you may want to do. So I'm going to go in here, and I'm going to show you all now how to customize a form, because what happens in FarmDog when you create a field, we're going to give you default observations, but let's be honest, these are not going to be 100% correct. Many of y'all have your own nomenclature on what you call things, your own severity scale, maybe use numbers instead of percentages, whatever it may be. You can control all of that within FarmDog. So I'm going to go here into a field. This is the corn form that we're familiar with that we saw earlier. So first of all, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of everything that we had on there, and I'm going to start new. Now I'm going to add an observation. And first of all, we've got a list of about 5,000 or 6,000 different observations on here. So you can see I enter in Rust, it's going to show in a bunch of things that are in my observation list. So if we've got something on here that we know we want, or that fits what you're looking for, great. You enter it in, corn earworms, low, moderate, high. I tap that, and that comes to my list. If we don't have something that you're looking for, or if we have it but use a different severity scale, that's not an issue at all. So let's call something PARM demo, right? We're doing PARM demo. Obviously, this doesn't exist in our list, so I'm going to create that. Insect, disease, weed, or other. I'm going to call it other, and then I can select my input type, whether it's a scale, low, moderate, high. And by the way, you can change low, moderate, high to whatever you want. You can change it to light, medium, heavy. You can change it to ugly and beautiful, whatever you want. Count, percent, range, free text, etc. So I'm just going to do a count. I'm going to create this observation type, and now I've got PARM demo on here as an observation type. So let's go through our observations again. Growth stages. You can also edit those, edit growth stages, but I'll skip that for now. I'm just going to select this, corn earworms low, PARM demo 12, save. And now I've fully customized my form. The key thing here is you do not need to continuously customize each and every field that you go to. What's going to happen is if I create a new field, or frankly, if I just go to any field that is also corn, that is of the same crop type of what I just did. So let's call this one PARM demo. Let's make this a corn field as well. Save, and as you can see, you can add additional notes on here. Log visit. You can see that pulls up that form that I just created. So again, you only have to customize a form one time. If you're working in a team, that change is going to be shared amongst everybody on your team. So especially we've got users where you'll have one manager who he's the only one who's allowed to change his form. We do have those permission settings. When he changes those forms, that form change trickles down to all 25 people on his team automatically. He doesn't have to call everybody up. He doesn't have to call a team meeting. He doesn't have to send out a text. That is just automatically created. In addition to that, you can also save these forms for future use. So I'm going to save this form, and I'm going to call this PARM demo form. PARM demo. This is going to be my PARM demo form. This is going to come in handy. I'll show you all this in a bit. When you want to help in your marketing practices. Why? Because you can share a form that you've created with anybody, whether they're your client or not. And I'll share stories about that in a second, but let me just save this visit. And what do I mean by saving a form? I'm going to go to another field here. This is a tomato field. I'm going to go to log visit. See, there's nothing in here in my field. Then I'm going to go to load form, and there's that PARM demo form that we just saved, and it automatically pulls it up. So there are multiple ways for you to control what it is that you're scouting for and for you to manage your teams. So I'm going to go back to this field, and I'm going to share some of the additional data layers that you have access to within FarmDog. So as I mentioned in the very beginning, essentially our #1 goal is to help save you time. And I know that many of you are using different agricultural apps out there for a variety of reasons. The last thing you want is another app, just so that now you've got 15 usernames and passwords. We fully understand that. So we've done a few things. One is, first of all, we hope to have made FarmDog incredibly easy to use for you, to make the decision easy to switch from another app to FarmDog. In addition to that, though, what we want to do is to help you essentially consolidate many of your other apps into one platform. What does that mean? It means, for example, we've got weather data on here for you. So weather is going to show you hourly and daily current and forecasted weather information. So we've got that on there. So you don't need to have a completely different weather app on there as well. For those that do use soil types from USDA, we've integrated those in here. Some folks will tell me they're very helpful. Some folks will tell me that they are not helpful at all. So that's something that we've integrated here. So this is silty clay. This field is 100% composed of silty clay out in Central Texas. That's something else we've got on here. We've also integrated aerial imagery. The aerial imagery is, we have both satellite and plane imagery integrated into FarmDog. So I'm going to go into this field here. This is another sample buckwheat field. Tap on satellite imagery. And we've pulled in satellite imagery for you. This is NDVI. Now, you can see I'm going back in time, and I can pull in different imagery layers on here. Within this, the key aspect, the interesting aspect here is you're able to see both the FarmDog and the satellite imagery layer laid one on top of the other. So you've got this GPS hotspot that you've got there in the middle. You see that little orange GPS marker on top of the NDVI layer. So you have both of these basically integrated. Again, the goal is to really give you this all-in-one platform to help you make your pest and disease management decisions. I'm gonna go to a different field just to show the plane imagery. So we have integrated with TerraAvion, which provides plane imagery across most of the Midwest. And there again, it's just the exact same thing. You go to the field, you tap that imagery, that layers icon, you tap on TerraAvion, and we'll integrate those imagery layers. So that means both NDVI, thermal, zoning, anything that you may want to have on there. And again, you will be able to see the GPS hotspots from FarmDog on top of that. In addition to this, we also have pesticide label lookups for you. So if I go into label search, I'm in California, so it automatically understood that I'm in California. I know many folks here on the call are from Ohio, for example, so let me just go to Ohio. And I've got weevils. That's going to pull up all the different labels that are approved for weevils. We know that oftentimes folks already know specifically which treatment or pesticide that they're looking for. So let me just, not accelerometer, those. And so you can see I can pull up specifically which label that I want if I already know what I'm looking for. So that's another data layer that we have added for you on here. A few additional things that I want to add before I go to the web dashboard is in our settings, as I mentioned, we can track, or you can track your path in the field. This is turned off by default. This is something that you have to essentially opt into. When you do that, that's going to track your path in the field. Now, how does that work? Basically, what we do is when this is on, we've got FarmDog on, we ping the GPS, we see how close you are to the field. Once we identify that you're in the field, we're going to track your path. If you're not in the field, we don't store any of that information. We throw it away. We have no idea if you're at the bar when you're supposed to be at the field, whatever it may be. So just know that that is also available for you. So that's the FarmDog app. What I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over now to our web dashboard and share with you some of the other aspects of FarmDog in there. So this is a FarmDog web dashboard. I'm just going to refresh this. The FarmDog web dashboard, use it for a few aspects. One is the onboarding process, and I haven't even talked about onboarding. I'll make sure to chat about that. Two is the administrative and settings aspect, to create teams, to add your logo, whatever it may be. And then three is to review the data that you have entered into FarmDog, and to give you some data insights within that as well. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to go to the fields that we just scouted. So here you can see this is the field that we scouted. It's automatically synced up. This means a few things. Again, no extra button that you have to push to make sure that the data gets out to folks. As long as you tap save in FarmDog in the app, it's going to sync everything up. The second aspect is, if you're working in a group of folks, somebody's sitting in the office, whether it's a manager and you've got interns out in the field, whether the manager is out in the field and you've got somebody else in the office, the grower, the client, whoever it may be, this data is automatically synced up, so they can see in real time what you're scouting out in the field. So that's first of all what happens there. Now the other aspect that we've got here is the ability to manage your team. I keep talking about teams, and what happens here is you can create any number of teams that you want to do in any matrix of teams. What does a team allow you to do? It means a few things. One is data sharing amongst the team. So as I mentioned, if Julia and myself are on the same team, the second I enter information in FarmDog, she's going to see that in her app, in her web dashboard, whatever it may be. Two, we share the fields on there, so you do not have to add additional. You don't have to add onboard fields for multiple people. Everybody's on the same thing. And then the last thing is you can share those observation forms, as I mentioned. So to add a team, to add a person to the team, it's very simple. I just go to invite new team member. Invite, and on my end, I'll get an invitation. You see, I keep inviting myself and never approving. Someday I'll approve myself to join the team. It's as simple as that. If you've added somebody, so that when you've got somebody coming in during the summer, you can very easily add them. When they go home at the end of the summer, you've got employee turnover, whatever it may be, you can just very easily remove that team member, and they are no longer on your team. They will no longer see any of the data that you're collecting. And it's very simple. It's as simple as that. Some of our users add their growers to the team. What that creates is a situation in which we recommend that you create multiple teams. The reason you want to create multiple teams is for data privacy, right? If you as the agronomist have all of your growers' fields on here and are scouting all the growers' fields, you don't want Farmer Johnny and Farmer Billy to see each other's information. And so what our users do, they'll create two separate teams, one for Johnny, one for Billy. The agronomist or the whoever's responsible for those will be a member of both of those teams, whereas those two people are separated. I'm going to go to my settings now. And the settings allow you essentially to control and to manage how you want your physical work in the field to be digitally represented to your client, to your stakeholder, whatever it may be. So first, a few things on how you want that PDF to look. So when you're sending that PDF report for multiple fields, you can group it by client, by farm, by crop, really up to you. If you want to display the field acreage on the reports, for some folks that's important, for some folks less so. If you want to customize that report, I'm just going to go into edit right here. That allows me to change my logo on there. I can change my name instead of Liron Brish. I can, Billy Johnson, whatever it is. Phone number, email. Instead of that, I can even write Liron's agronomists are the best. Agronomists are the best. Right? I can basically change anything, and it turns into my marketing, my branding. We let you fully control that within FarmDog. In addition, you can turn on stand counts, etc. And here's a key aspect when it comes to teams. At the bottom, as I showed y'all, you can manage and you can control. You can edit those observation forms. That's great. It gives you a lot of control. It gives you a lot of flexibility. It's not so great if you've got 30 people on a team and hey, everybody's trying to change things around. So from that aspect, you can decide whether non-managers are able to edit those observations. Most folks, if you get to a large enough size, put this on to no. That means that anybody who is not a manager, all they can do within FarmDog is enter in information. Scout. They can't change those observation forms around. In addition to that, the way I'll give you examples of how some of our folks use the team aspect of this. So we've got another user. She's got a team of about, I think it's about 7 or 8 down in the Southeast. She is responsible for the grower relationship, the agronomist client relationship. What that means is that she wants to be the one to send out that report, right? I showed how easy it is to send the report, but she wants to be the one who can actually send that. What we've been able to do is to limit the ability of her team to send out reports. So all they do is go out to the field and scout. At the end of the day, she reviews all those different fields, creates I call it kind of an aggregated recommendation for the grower that says, hey, grower Melissa, we went to your 20 fields, 15 of 20 look great, these 5 have an issue, and add all 20 of those fields into that one multi-field report as I showed y'all. So that's really just one way to manage this and manage your grower, your client relationships. So that's how you do teams. Now, in terms of onboarding, we make onboarding very simple. First of all, you've got a free sign up. As I mentioned, you can sign up on the Android and Apple Store or on our website right now. The free sign up puts you into a trial period. The trial is not based off of time. So I know some folks say, well, I want to play with this, but I don't want to burn out my trial right now because I'm only going to be going out to the fields in 2 months. Don't worry about that. The trial is based off of usage. So first of all, we make it very easy for folks to start, and you can start to build out your team right now. Once you do that, the next question is obviously, okay, how do I get my fields on here? We make that very simple for you as well. The first version is to manually draw your fields. You saw how I did that in the phone app. You can also manually draw them on the web dashboard. If you've got more than 5 fields, please don't do that. You're gonna hate us. You're gonna waste a lot of time. I'm going to assume that if you've got a fair number of fields, and most folks on this webinar are going to have shapefiles of their fields. To make it very easy to upload shapefiles, you just tap upload shapefile, and it puts you into our shapefile module. You can drag and drop your shapefile into here, or you can select the file to upload. Once you do that, assuming that you have this information in your shapefiles, we will automatically recognize the farm name, the field name, the client name on there, and get you started. Key thing to remember here is the way to do it is to have one zip file with all of your field shape files in here. Sometimes folks come in and they'll export their shape files from a different program, and it's one zip file per field, and they'll want to do it one by one by one by one by one. That gets really tough. That gets really time consuming. Wherever you pull your shape files from, pull them out. Make sure if they come in one zip file, and we'll take care of everything together. In addition to that, we're also very closely integrated with Deere's Operations Center. So if you or your clients have a Deere Operations Center account and you've got all of your fields saved in there, you can just tap import John Deere. What that is going to do is that's going to open up this John Deere integration. If I were not already signed in, then we would have then it would tell me to log in. It's going to tell me to choose one of these organizations. I'm going to import that organization, and now that's going to import these fields over from John Deere into FarmDog. So 3 fields are imported. You can import multiple organizations, whichever way you choose to do that. So we have very easy ways for you to onboard your fields and to get started within FarmDog. So that's the onboarding process. Now, this is FarmDog in terms of saving you time, helping you with your marketing, helping you serve your clients better. There's a few other tricks in here that I'd like to share with you all, and I'll use some examples from our users. We work very closely with extension across the states, University of Arkansas, California, Florida, Texas A&M, working with folks out at Purdue. What we've noticed is, or let me back up a little bit. The way we started working with extension is we had many of our growers in past years say, FarmDog is great. How do I plug in my extension agent? Whereas we also worked with extension agents. They said, FarmDog is great. How do we utilize this in our work, given budgetary constraints that we have? So for the extension agents that are on the webinar right now, know that you can use FarmDog for free. No gimmicks, nothing, for free. Really, that's kind of our way of returning back to academia, to the public sector of agriculture with this. So everything I've showed y'all, we've got extension using it the same way. But what has also been interesting that we've seen is if I go to the forms, and if you remember, I created forms previously and I saved a form. You can see I've got all of my forms listed here. So corn demo, tomato demo, those were made obviously beforehand, and the PARM demo. What some of our extension agents have been doing, as well as what some of our private agronomists have been doing as essentially as a outreach, a business development outreach, is creating forms and then sharing them with other people. What does sharing entail? I tap share. That's going to create this link, and you can now copy and share this link to anybody else who is using the FarmDog platform that is not on your team, but you're able to share your best practices with them. So again, I'll give you the examples in extension. University of Arkansas created several very excellent observation forms that they had been using all of last year. University of Florida signed on and said, or started using FarmDog and said, hey, you know what? Somebody's already done the hard work. Somebody's already put in the expertise on this. Can they share their form with us? And the answer was a very simple yes. University of Arkansas created this link, sent it over to their colleagues at Florida, and now those two folks are sharing that. We've got folks, agronomists, who are using this as a business development, as I mentioned, telling some growers in the area, hey, you know what? Maybe you haven't hired me yet to scout your fields, but let me share this best practices form with you. And then they share that form. So FarmDog gives you multiple ways in terms of sharing best practices, marketing, outreach, etc. So that's FarmDog in terms of observations, scouting. As I mentioned, though, there's kind of a longer term vision to FarmDog in terms of helping you make your decisions out in the field and what you're recommending, whether that recommendation is a chemical recommendation, biological, operational, cultural, whatever it may be. We want to give you the ability to really pull in all the data that you need to continue to improve on your recommendations, and frankly, to also see how well your recommendations are. So from that aspect, we've got a few things. First of all, you're always welcome to export your data and do with it what you will. So if I just go here and go to export data, that's going to send you all of your data. You own the data, all of your data that you have entered into FarmDog in a CSV file. If you're a data person, you can enter that in. You can use that in whatever data software you've got. If you're an Excel person, you can look at it into Excel. So first of all, you can always take this data out. In addition to that, what we have started to build, and this is something that we've recently launched only about a month ago or so, is what we call our Data Explorer. What Data Explorer does is Data Explorer takes the observations that you have collected in your field and gives you data visualizations for it. So right now, this is our version 0.1, I'll call it. This does already allow you to see some of the data visualizations, and it allows you also to see where FarmDog is going, and really kind of helps you understand the value of using FarmDog today and what value will give you into the future. So I tapped on one of the fields, Chaparral field. First of all, it's just going to give me this overview of the number of observations, the number of visits that I had on there, et cetera, et cetera. If I go to one of these green dots here, and this is just a timeline of when I planted to when I went out into the field and observed the field. So I'm going to go, and this is June 23rd. I'm going to tap on here. What that does is it opens up the details of that observation. So on June 23rd, armyworms moderate, aphids okay, weeds okay, et cetera, and so forth and so forth. If I tap now on armyworms, it's going to give me this visualization down here that says when I was out in the field, what did I find on there? So again, June 23rd, moderate. At the same time, it allows me to compare my field observation to my GDUs out in the field, to weather information such as precipitation, max, min, temperature, wind, and really allows me to start answering questions. So if I say, hey, why did armyworms jump from nothing, none, to moderate? Maybe it had to do with the precipitation, maybe it had to do with the temperature, maybe we reached a new growth stage because we hit a certain GDU number. And so the goal here is to allow you to view all these data layers all at once. Again, as I mentioned, this is our version 0.1, but I hope this gives you a sense of where this is leading to, right? Next step is adding on here which treatment you applied at the time. So as you can imagine, here, if I applied a treatment, I want to make sure that the next time I was out in the field, we drop to none. So that's just an example of where FarmDog is leading to. So that's the FarmDog web dashboard. I'm going to skip back over to, here it is. I'm going to skip back over here to the presentation and share a few additional things on here with y'all. So as I mentioned, coming soon is efficacy on here. So you can imagine you have the treatment overlaid on that visualization of what's going on in the field. And then also importantly is these are some of the geographic visualizations that we're starting to build out. So these are things that we're working on with the USDA today. These are things that we're working on with our partners at John Deere. And so whether it's you as a lone agronomist, whether you're a co-op and looking at your whole region, whether you're a retailer and wanting to look at your whole region, we can pull in the data that you've entered into FarmDog and give you geographic visualization of how a specific pest or disease is moving over time and geographically. So here, for example, this is information that we worked on with the University of Arkansas on extension. This map basically showed the movement of thrips across the state over time, and it's dynamic. It's a video. You can see how things move. I grew up in Texas. When I spoke first with the folks in Arkansas, they said, hey, we get a bunch of stuff that comes in from Texas sometime during the season, and I got very offended, and I said, no, it's not coming from Texas. But lo and behold, when we looked at the data, it started off in the south and moved its way up north, or southwest. And so the data proved my Texas pride wrong. In addition to that, we're able to create regional heat maps for you. By county, by radius, whatever it may be. As we know, pest and disease respect no political boundary. So we're able to do it on county or just by radius. And then some of the regional alerts that we're starting to build in. What is really interesting, especially if you're a co-op, a retailer, agronomist that has a wide span of a wide geographic span, is we'll be able to start giving you alerts. And this is something that we expect to release in the next few months, is to give you alerts based off what's been found around you. So when you go out to the field, if you remember in the very beginning of the demo, I said, hey, here's some field information. When you go out to the field, we'll also be able to give you an alert that says, hey user, watch out, because in a 20-mile radius, 5-mile radius, whatever the relevant radius is, Western flower thrips have been found 70 times in the last week above a severity level of high, or above the economic threshold that you've set. And that gives you insight into what it is that maybe you should be looking for, or maybe you should be paying a little bit extra attention towards. So that's where FarmDog leads to. It starts off from a very simple to use app out in the field that's going to save you time, improve communication, help you out in your marketing, and it's going to move forward into the data insights such as here, as well as additional data layers to have that one holistic platform, if you will, for pest and disease management. In terms of pricing, we have two pricing tiers: free and $45 per month. On the free tier, you're going to be able to scout unlimited fields, unlimited acres. You're going to be able to have as many people on your team as you want. Weather information, things that I looked up, as well as have the web dashboard available to you. On the professional, monthly, $45 per user per month. What that additionally gets you is the satellite imagery, the ability to brand your report, so to have your logo on there, to have your specific name on there. It's going to allow you to create unlimited teams and users. So again, if you want to have split teams for data privacy, that's going to be in the professionals package, and the data insights on there. So that's the pricing. The pricing per month is dynamic, meaning if you have 2 people on your team in April, because it's the very beginning of the season, pricing's for those 2 folks. In July, you add 5 more people to your team because everybody's out scouting the field. The pricing is going to be for 7 folks, the 2 plus your 5 seasonal workers. The second those seasonal workers go away and you're back down to 2 or 1, you're only going to be paying what's called per seat pricing. The people that are using FarmDog, that's what you're going to be paying for. So very simple pricing. There is also an enterprise version, which is how we work with some larger retailers and co-ops that want something a little bit more customized. That is something that we're also able to do, but that's something that needs to be kind of an offline discussion. So, kind of overview on what we just went over, and then of course feel free to send in your questions. So the first question: why FarmDog? As I mentioned, the operational improvements that we've got on here. Top 9 app you shouldn't farm without by agriculture.com. Top 20 app by CropLife for 2020 and beyond. Very wide aspect of crop size, team types that we work with. The marketing opportunities and the decision-making insights. The Who Likes FarmDog, that's what I mentioned. Right now, we also work, as I mentioned, with USDA, with Extension. We work very closely with John Deere. We're working right now with them to connect the FarmDog platform with their variable rate pesticide application, so that you'll be able to just enter and create zones in FarmDog for pesticide application, send that straight up to Deere, and have the Deere sprayer spray based off the zones that you wanted. We work also in the Midwest. Y'all may know a company called Rantizo, drone spraying. We've started working with them. So we work with a whole bunch of folks across the value chain. And in terms of who uses FarmDog, as I mentioned, private agronomists, team of 1 up to a team of 50 plus, retailers, co-ops, Extension, USDA, seed and chemical manufacturers. We work with everybody. We've made this very, very flexible across the board. The pricing that we just went over, and then of course the how do I sign up at farmdog.ag, or you can download the app on the Apple or Android store right now. So that's us, and open for questions. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Liron. We do have time for Q&A, so attendees, we're going to give you approximately 2 minutes to send in any questions. Please enter your questions into the question box on your screen, and we'll be back on to answer those questions in approximately 2 minutes. All right, we're going to get started with the Q&A. Attendees, please feel free to keep sending in questions as they pop in your head. So the first question we are going to get started with is, how often is satellite imagery updated?
Yeah, so satellite imagery is updated around twice a month. We use a third-party provider called GeoSys that we pull in the satellite imagery from them, obviously. So it's about twice a month.
All right, and the next question is, the aggregation of data, is that just for a single ag retailer's information, or is it combining information from several retailers anonymously?
Yeah, so we can do multiple ways. The long-term vision here is to do an anonymous and aggregated version of this. And I'll give you an example. We initially rolled this out in Florida a couple years ago, and we shared the anonymized aggregated information on a county-wide level. So it's really trying to replicate some of the sort of alerts that you get from the area today in just a more easy-to-use aspect. We do have some users who have told us that they want to keep this specifically within their within their co-op or whatever it may be, and we are able to do that as well.
Next question is, can spray records be generated using the FarmDog app?
Today, the records that we have are in that recommendation that you saw where I entered in a recommendation, spray with X, whatever it may be. We are working hard to allow you to push out an actual work order, whether it's to aerial spraying, drone spraying, field spraying, whatever it may be. So today, the records that we have are based off of that recommendation that you put into FarmDog.
Okay, next question is, can you pull in as applied planting / spraying / fertilizer data so you scout different parts of the field if you set up a SXS?
So our work right now with deer is working just on that. So today when you do your deer integration, what we're doing is pulling in field boundaries, field name, farm name, and client name. That next step of that integration is pulling in as applied data as well.
Next question is, with the track your path option, what happens if you don't have a signal? Does it still track offline?
It does. It's based off of GPS, and so you don't actually need connectivity for that to work.
Next question is there any consideration of including fertilizer information in this app, i.e. soil test, crop sensors, precision fertilizer application, or do other apps do this already?
Yep, excellent question. Today, we already have some users who are entering in that information in FarmDog. So in that customization part of the form, you can enter in, instead of calling it a PARM demo, you can call it, you can call it soil meter, soil moisture sensor. You can call it whatever it is that you want and enter in information that way. So while from a data insights aspect, our focus is on the pest and disease outbreaks and efficacy, you are able to use FarmDog, frankly, any way you want it to collect whatever data you want.
Okay, next question. What factors should I take into account when choosing a software platform?
Yeah, so there's a few things, and we know that, I think I started in the beginning saying that there are a lot of software platforms out there, and completely understand that. Here's another one. Here's another one for you to choose from. The thing that I recommend to folks when they look at their software is really a few things. One, just make sure it's something that's easy to use. There's lots of apps out there that their goal is similar, but it's 2020. Make sure it's something that works as seamlessly as your Netflix account or Amazon when you order, or whatever other 2020 software you're used to using. The second aspect that I would look at is the frequency of updates that the company uses. So for are things being updated every week or two, or are things being updated in the software app every 6 months? And I think we update things about every week or two. And I think that's a big difference in terms of the continuous improvement of the application. There have been a few questions on things. Do you do X? And my answer was, we're working on it. We are working on all those things. And I think that's something really key to keep in mind is the software continuously improving, or is it going to stay the same now for the next year or two? And then the last thing that I think is important is really, what is the long-term vision of the software that you're using? The PARM shared some of the results from their report in terms of some of the precision ag work that folks are doing. And I think it's important to choose, if you see yourself continuing to improve in your services over time, it's important to choose a software that matches up with where you see your services and your industry going, and to make sure that y'all are working towards the same long-term vision.
Next question is, are there any plans for further John Deere integration?
Yeah, so I mentioned the initial John Deere Operations Center aspect, and I briefly mentioned the project that we're working on with Deere right now, which is to allow you to create a variable rate zone within FarmDog, and then to send that directly up to Deere's Operations Center. So whoever's sitting in the Deere equipment can pull in that zone and spray the way that you want it to be. So that's where we're working on towards with Deere. Side note on that, from the FarmDog perspective, we're agnostic into how you choose to treat your fields, by what method. And so whether it's aerial, Deere tractor, another company, drone, whatever it may be, we're agnostic. And so we're working on multiple fronts to really allow you to create, somebody also asked about spray, spray records, to create those spray records within FarmDog, to send it out to whoever you're working with, and really just close that loop in a seamless aspect. That's what we're working towards.
Okay, next question is, can I integrate drone imagery into FarmDog?
So today I showed both satellite and plane imagery. If you do have drone imagery that you do want to integrate, please reach out to us and let us know. On that aspect, it really depends on how your drone software is collecting that imagery. We've got the ability to pull in imagery, so it really depends on your drone provider.
Okay, it looks like that is all the questions that we have that came in. So I'd like to wrap up the Q&A. I want to thank you again, Liron, for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time to share your work with us.
Thank y'all. Everybody stay safe and healthy.
Okay. At this time, I want to recognize our premier egg retailer members, gold members, the Andersons, Country Visions Cooperative, Millborn Seeds, and Saddle Butte Egg. And silver members, Gertie Egg, Pandora Grain and Supply, Lacrosse Seed, and Nutrient Egg Solutions. Their contributions helped make this webinar possible and help promote the strides that egg retailers are making to reduce nutrient impairments. For more information on membership and all the benefits that come with it, contact Caitlin at partnershipfarm.org, or visit our website and click Become a Member to fill out our online form. Finally, I'd like to acknowledge additional funders and collaborators that made this webinar possible, in particular the McKnight Foundation and the Great Lakes Protection Fund. If you are interested in sponsoring future webinars, please contact me at julia@partnershipfarm.org or visit our website. Help us keep these webinars and other resources free by making a tax-deductible donation to PARM. By giving just $50 today, you can support this webinar series that provides the egg community with the latest research on nutrient management from experts across the United States, as well as continuing education units to crop advisors. I'd like to thank our recent donors, the University of Toledo's Department of Environmental Sciences, Keys Seed Service, LLC, and Mark Ruddy. go to partnershipfarm.org/donate to contribute today. We will also send a donation link in our follow-up email. As we wrap up, please remember to look for the follow-up email in a few days with the webinar evaluation and webinar recording. If you submitted your CCA number at registration and are viewing this webinar live, or the recording within 2 weeks of the original date, your CEUs will be automatically submitted. Only if you watch the recording more than 2 weeks after the original broadcast date will you need to email your CCA number to julia@partnershipfarm.org to ensure your CEUs are submitted. One last reminder to please take our webinar evaluation. It's a great way to let us know what topics you want to hear about on future webinars. I want to thank you all again for joining us today, and I hope you join us again for our next webinar.